Real evidence, real drama, real verdicts. Welcome to Judge Reports, where the courtroom secrets come to light.
Name is Aneka, last name is Skib.
Skib. Got it. Okay, go ahead. You may inquire.
Ms. Skib, do you recall April 19th of 2023?
Yes.
And where were you that day?
I was at my apartment.
And what is your apartment address? And Your Honor, I would ask the court take judicial notice of it being in Pittsfield Township.
Court will take judicial notice of that. That is in Pittsfield.
And who were you there with?
I was with our son and Mr. Riley.
Okay, so when you say our son, who is the R?
Mr. Riley and I have a son together.
Okay, and what is Mr. Riley's first name?
Timothy.
Okay, and do you see Timothy Riley in the courtroom today? And can you tell me something he's wearing?
He's wearing a dark blue shirt and a vest and tie.
And let the record reflect that this witness has identified the defendant as Timothy Riley.
Without objection, record so reflect. Go ahead.
And at that time, were you still in a relationship with Mr. Riley?
We were trying to make a relationship work, at the very least for our son.
And was he living in your apartment with you at that time?
No.
And was anyone else in the home besides you or your son or Mr. Riley? And can you tell me what happened that day?
So he came over to see his son, and then we kind of got into it, which happens really often, but they ended up fighting and yelling, and I didn't want that around our son's name is Graham. So kind of what happens in those situations is that there's this threat to leave as it means to hurt me, and just like emotionally. So we kind of got into an argument about that, and it ended up being physical. So at one point.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. So what was the argument about?
I think the argument was about using leaving as a way of hurting me, but I don't entirely remember.
Okay. And where were you when this argument happened?
We were in my living room.
Okay. And about how far away were you from the defendant?
Well, it varied, so I don't really remember.
Okay. And had you been drinking that evening? Okay. And how much do you think you've had to drink?
I think we had about 4 drinks each.
Okay. And do you recall the argument getting physical?
Yes.
And do you think that the alcohol that you drank that evening impaired your ability to understand the situation at all?
Definitely, yes. And also I was on a medication that I think interacted with it that I wasn't aware of. So I think it affected me more than I realized as well.
Okay, but did it affect your ability to remember the physical aspect of this situation?
Not entirely, but certainly moments of it, yes.
Okay. And when the physical nature of this situation started, how did it start?
I don't entirely remember. I just, because I think we were both yelling mostly, but there was a point in which I think that Mr. Riley was trying to go towards where my son was sleeping, and I was trying to prevent that. But there were a few different points where it was physical. So
okay, and so when you say you were trying to prevent that, how were you trying to prevent that?
I was physically trying to stop him and pushing him, so we were both being a little bit aggressive.
Okay, and at that time, did he put his hands on you?
There was a point where he grabbed my arm really hard, and when I went to get it away, I think he just didn't mean to, but he kind of accidentally hit me. But there was also another point later on that I got hurt, but that was the only point at which I can remember him laying hands on me.
Okay, and so another point later, can you tell me about that?
It was when I was trying to push him out of the door. I was kind of panicking, and I know that's not an okay thing to do, but I was pushing him out the door and closed the door, and his fingers were still there, and I thought he was going to pull them away. So he slammed the door back open and it like split my lip. I thought it was a little bit intentional just because he knew I was pushing on it fully, so it was like with a lot of force. But I think once he realized that he injured me, he kind of stepped back and I managed to get the door shut and locked it. And I didn't feel safe reopening it.
Okay, and was this the front door to your home? And why were you trying to get him out of your home?
I think that I was just really scared that it got physical and that there was the yelling and I didn't want it to be around Graham.
Okay, and at any point as you were, you said that you were trying to physically stop him from getting to your son's room. Why was that?
Well, it wasn't his room. My son was actually like in the hall, kind of at the end of the living room. So.
Why were you trying to stop him from going to your son?
I think I was just nervous about the yelling and the aggression and level of anger being around him, and he was sleeping, so I didn't want it to wake him or scare him because that's happened in the past.
Okay, and how old is your son?
He's 1.5 years.
Okay, and at any point, did you give the defendant any permission to put hands on you?
I've not spoken, I guess, and not in that way.
Okay, and when you say not in that way, are you referring to slamming the door on your face or grabbing your arm?
Yeah, just like it seems more of like a physical aggression rather than like an affectionate kind of physical interaction.
Okay. All right, no further questions for this witness at this time.
Just real quick before you begin. Well, from the time you started arguing to the time that he was outside the door, how long?
I actually don't know.
Okay. Had you asked him to leave?
I think that he wanted to leave and I got hurt by that, but then we were at the point where I was asking him to leave and he wouldn't.
So it's safe to say that Mr. Riley was trying to leave and you were upset by that, right?
Yes.
And you tried to stop him from leaving?
Initially, yes.
And when he was trying to escape, you slammed the door on his hand?
He wasn't trying to escape and I didn't mean to slam the door.
But you did close the door on his hand, correct?
Yes.
And he pulled back and the door ended up hitting you, is that right?
Well, no, he slammed the door into me.
Well, he pushed the door back open. How could he slam it if it's shut? You shut it on his hand and he pushed it back open, right? To get the door off his hand and it hit you, right? That's a fair.
Yeah.
So you don't think that he intended to hurt you, right?
Well, I think the only thing that I wasn't sure about, in all honesty, when I told them was that the level of force with which he opened it again was probably out of panic, but it was also like more.
But it's safe to say that he was just trying to get the door off his hand mostly when you shut the door on his hand and he opened it.
Yes.
So he didn't intend to hurt you.
I don't know. I didn't realize it was happening and then he pushed very hard, so it ended up hitting me in the face very hard. I don't know if it was intentional or not.
Okay, nothing further on.
But he knew you were behind that door.
Yes.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Any additional witnesses for the people?
No, Your Honor.
Any witnesses for the defense?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Closing.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Skibb just testified that she has a child in common with the defendant and that on April 19th, 2023, he was over her home to see the child. Things got heated in an argument and they turned aggressive in nature. She did not want the defendant to then see their child, as she was worried about him being around the argument and the yelling and not waking him up. She testified that at first she did want him to stay, and then after she had told him to leave, he was not leaving. She was trying to get him to leave the house by pushing him out. He had his fingers in the door. She did not intentionally mean to slam them in the door. She thought they would be moved. When he as he was trying to get back in, he shoved the door knowing she was behind the door, and split her lip open and hit her face with the door. I believe that the people have proven that there's domestic violence in this situation. I would ask the court to take judicial notice that this is a second offense where he was previously convicted on January 10th of 2022 of domestic violence previously. And I would ask that the court find the defendant guilty.
Your Honor, Mr. Riley was there simply just to see his child. There, he was not there to cause any type of problem when he was trying to leave. So that Miss Skip testified that when he was trying to leave, she did not like that. She thought that he was trying to hurt her. It seems he wanted to leave to avoid any type of physical confrontation. And when he did try to leave, she stopped him. You heard in testimony that she closed the door on his hand, and due to the there was physical abrasion seen on his hand. When he came to open the door ended up maybe hitting her in some way. There was no intentional act. He did not want to hurt her. He was simply just trying to get his shoes and leave. And it seems like she was trying to stop him. Maybe she was a little bit too intoxicated at the time. But there was no intentional act of violence, Your Honor. So that was all.
Any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Court is standing brief recess. I'll come back with my decision. Back on the record in the case of the People's State of Michigan versus Timothy Riley, counsel is present. The court, in hearing the testimony of Ms. Skip, what is very clear is that the first physical contact during the course of this argument, the first physical contact, Ms. Skip acknowledges very clearly during the course of her testimony that was accidental on Mr. Riley's part. So it focuses more on the issue of what occurred at the door. And the court during its break was sort of contemplating in a lot of ways different scenarios, particularly given Ms. Skip's testimony that she believed that it was intentional what he did. In terms of that, but because while it's on the complaint, I don't have a conviction. Certainly, I don't have one in this county as we looked at it that way. It's specific as to the complaint is specific as to the date, but not as to where.
It's out of the 36th District Court. It was a bird from the Detroit Police Department, and I have the number and the ID if the court would like it. I also have the lien pulled up if the court would just like to see the record, and I have.
All right, we can pull a lien, and that may show up on. Okay, got it.
And for the record, that was a plea that he took.
Pardon?
It was a plea that he took on that.
On that, okay, thank you. All right, so therefore the court would find the defendant guilty of the offense of domestic violence second. With that added information.